right. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, I am your meteorologist for the evening, Cloud Hudson, and I will be bringing you tonight's top weather stories. Let me go ahead and continue setting up my stream, make sure my camera is good. I did want to say I brought you one update that I forgot to mention on stream last night from a couple days ago over in Texas, Marathon, Texas. There was not only a 50-degree temperature drop, but there was also 2 feet of hail blanketing the ground as if it were snow. That was from the severe weather on yesterday, Thursday, May fight to the mid 50s in about an hour. And this was the scene. This snowy, wintry looking scene. That's hail. That is the sheer volume of hail that fell in the area. And people said it was like an air conditioner outside. It was one of the most severe weather temperature swings in recorded history. And Texas is where we've had some of the greatest temperature swings like that. But look at that. Imagine this not being snow, but it's hail. It's little pellets of ice. I truly can't imagine what that must have sounded like or felt like to walk over. The sensations must have been unworldly. That is really quite the weird, cool sight. I really like when we get to see, I don't like it because it means, weather's crazy, but I do like the novelty of seeing weird weather like this. That's a really fun story. I totally meant to mention it yesterday, but we didn't have quite as many good picks yesterday because it was still actively happening. So let's see. Yeah, they also recorded about 2.5 inches of rain in an hour on Thursday, and that was due to some extreme severe weather that was happening there. But I would like to go, before we talk about today's weather, let's talk about today's volcanic activity. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Today's volcanic activity. Maybe. Perhaps. All right, let's look at we're going to have some aerial video of the erupting tornado from the Stromboli volcano in the Aeolian Islands in Italy. And we're also going to see Sakurajima emitting volcanic ash. Dempo volcano. I haven't seen that one on the list yet. Mount All is in Sumatra, and that is volcanic ash reported to flight level 110. So let's see what the 31st ended up with. Maybe. I hope this is going to be a good streaming day. Sometimes technology doesn't want to cooperate. The new tornado in the northern crater of the Stromboli volcano, and you can see the ocean in the background there. Drone footage and overwhelming video of the ongoing activity was published recently. Drone footage from May 27th recorded the constant spattering from the new tornado in the northern crater rim area, throwing hot, fresh, molten lava clots. I hate that word, lava clots. That's nasty sounding. Upon the upper Sciara del Fuoco. The recently formed tornado is prone to collapsing into hot rock falls. The risk of these events could escalate into larger debris avalanches or even dangerous pyroclastic flows remains high due to the elevated magma surge and the potential sudden accumulation and destabilization of the Hornado. Let's take a look at this footage. Oh yeah, that's the money right there. Let's see if we can get this going full screen, or if it'll yell at me. Yeah. Doesn't quite want to let me do full screen, but that's okay. You can still see clearly this is the Hornito, not to be confused with the type of tequila, but Hornito in volcanology terms is this little guy right here. You can see the active incandescence and another little jet right there. There are random bursts. It'll get charged up and then spray like this. And that's what forms the actual shape of the Hornado itself, is the force and speed at which the material is ejected into the surrounding area. So that is a beautiful video from the Italian volcanology service. Reykjanes Peninsula by the ongoing effusive eruption, which are moving eastward, and that is not a good sign. I mean, it's not moving directly towards the capital, which would still be on that peninsula, but it is scraping around the entire island and really pooling up here in the northern Atlantic before headed down towards, this is the British Isles right here. So soon we might see SO2 emissions headed towards Scotland. So that we're going to have to take a look at on... Actually, let's do that now before we forget. Let's take a look at our sulfur dioxide emissions on Zoom Earth. For some reason, my browser is really lagging today. You know what? It might be... Okay, this is crazy, but what if it's because my fans are on? My ceiling fans are on, and what if that's messing up the connection? I know. You're like, how would that mess up the connection? But it's going through air. And if that background air is more stable, maybe it can sense the changing in the pulses of the Wi-Fi signal easier. I don't know. I'm making this up, but I also have a hunch, you know? Okay. Sulfur dioxide surface mass. Looks like currently... this is what we're showing. Oh, and that shows that the sulfur dioxide emissions are headed straight for Reykjavik right now. So I guess earlier in the day today, they were headed down and around to Europe, which you can kind of see. You can kind of see this low... Actually, this is a high pressure system because it's rotating clockwise. You can see it kind of dragging that air. Wonder how many... I'm stepping back in our time segments. Let's see if we can go back to when they were directed towards Scotland. And you see sulfur dioxide all over Europe. It is something that is naturally emitted in some industries, as well as some methods of home energy and fueling. Okay, so when we get back to about 14 UTC, which is the local time in Grindavik, actually really as far back as 8 a.m., you can see that the winds from this high pressure system, which has since moved a little bit closer to the British Isles. This is scraping Grindavik and going in towards what is the name of the sea? The Nordic Sea, the Baltic Sea? Is this the Baltic Sea? That's the Baltics. It's the one between mainland Europe and eastern British Isles. But this is where all that sulfur dioxide has been pooling. And then we see throughout the day that kind of gets pushed towards, and there's a low pressure system there just hanging out, keeping all that sulfur dioxide in the area. But as we get closer to our current time, we are seeing winds blowing on towards Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland. So unfortunately, they are getting some decent volcanic gases flowing in towards the heavily populated capital today. They were moving eastward when they wrote this update. The spattering is now limited to a cluster of about 6 eruptive vents with the fissure above, which has been building the group of cinder cones, so-called spatter ramparts. The lava flow along Grindavíkurveg, the main road, and protective barriers decreased its advance. Okay, so that is pretty good. Eruption at Sudnuk are still ongoing, mostly at the old major spatter cone. Okay, so that's using the same cone that was there before. That, you remember the one and only? Our favorite. Here's a image of that. Stora Skogafell is the only place I recognize on this. Langehiger and Vogar, I don't know exactly where they are, but you can see we're getting slightly different types of lava flows. This seems to be staying warmer on the surface and running like a river a lot faster in this eruption. So a lot more fluid lava flow in this. We're really dynamic with shapes and rivers, and it's not really like forming crust in some places really fast as much as it's rivering down. This is Mount Merapi. Phoenix clouds resulted from the pyroclastic flows this morning. And Phoenix clouds, I'm not exactly certain what they're meaning by that definition today, but I'm sure it is something commonly talked about in volcanology. Here's satellite of Mount Merapi and Samiru. You can see that fine particulate matter in the higher elevations there. Here's another great picture of Mount Merapi from a different angle. That's a powerful explosion from yesterday. And this is the explosion from Dempo volcano over on Sumatra. So we have multiple Sumatran, both Merapi and Dempo are on the island of Sumatra in the nation of Indonesia. Dempo started a new eruptive period several days ago with a Surtsian type explosion occurring from the crater lake, ejecting dark masses of tephra approximately 300 meters above the lake. Dense white to gray emissions rose about 500 meters over the edifice and drifted westward. Seismic signals with a maximum amplitude of 28 and 30 millimeters in a duration. Oh, it won't tell me the rest of that. Anyway, we are looking at no volcanic ash from Popo today. Ducono continues its explosive activity, as does Santiaguito and Fuego and Sangai. We've got volcanic ash emissions observed at Rentador, Sabancaya, still shooting really high up into the atmosphere at flight level 270, and White Island in Antarctica. Here's our update today. Due to the absence of further eruptive activity at the volcano since May 25th, the Volcano Observatory lowered volcanic alert level to level 2 and the aviation color to yellow. Analysis of data collected during a gas flight on the 26th indicated elevated levels of gas emissions compared to previous observations. The measured gas composition suggested magma is degassing beneath the edifice, possibly facilitated by previous explosions. No eruptions were observed during the gas flight, and there was a general lack of ejecta around the vent area. Although the alert level for the volcano was lowered, eruptions can still occur with little or no warning. This is particularly true for the minor eruptions last week in the presence of elevated magmatic gas emissions. As no sensors are on the island, volcanologists rely on webcams and satellite imagery, complemented by gas observation flights to assess volcanic activity. So, looks like they were pretty concerned because the gas from one of those gas flyovers looked like there was magma degassing, but we have not seen any indication that there's an upcoming eruption since then. So, again, these are currently, we've got 32 or 33 actively erupting volcanoes. It usually says in their ticker up here. Yeah, erupting 32, 26 in unrest. Yeah, let's see on the Iceland Meteorological Office website what their analysis of the gases is. Yeah, currently headed straight for Reykjavik in a very dense fashion. You can see as I slide this ticker back towards like the beginning of Friday. Oh, it won't let me go further than that. But really in the past 12 hours ish, we have seen to 24 hours, we have seen a decent tilt of highly concentrated volcanic gases headed towards the capital. So that is not good. The eruption has been relatively stable over the last 24 hours. The lava's flow during the first few hours was estimated at 1,500 cubic meters per second. Volcanic smog has been observed in many areas across the country, and air quality can be monitored there. Gas pollution might be noticed in Ulfis and the capital area in the coming days. Here's the updated assessment of risk. Lava flows from the crater towards the area between Hagafell and Selingafell. It is also thickening near the crater. Let's see. So survey teams are already conducting an aerial survey. It looks like the lava field was at a volume of 24 million cubic meters of lava so far. Volcanic smog has also been detected, which is not great. Volcanic smog consists of very fine SO4 particles. What is that? Sulfate particle, sulfur. It says fine sulfur particles, SO4. Isn't that a precursor to sulfuric acid? So maybe if it mixes with water, it would become sulfuric acid. I think. I don't recall. With long daylight hours, as is currently the case because we're in summer, the likelihood of volcanic smog formation increases. Volcanic smog does not register on sulfur dioxide gas monitors, but it is visible as a gray-blue haze when it reaches a certain concentration. An increase in fine particulate matter, PM1 and 2.5, can indicate the presence of SO4. Air quality can be monitored there. And next week, there are chances of northerly and northwesterly winds, which means there's a likelihood of gas and air pollution in populated areas, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, this is our current hazard map. So zone 3 is the only one in a purple risk, a very high risk. Zone 6 and zone 4, which does include the town of Grindavik, are in high warnings, and Grindavik has been evacuated, of course. Let's see. Gas pollution due to the volcanic eruption. Let's see. Let's go back to null Earth and see if we can see those particulate matters on there. If we look at PM1 and PM2.5, it said. We should be able to see an increase. Sulfate. Yeah, I was right. Those are sulfates. Let's see. Let's scroll back a little. Because it looks like some of these sulfates are coming from other places. I'm not really seeing this as a sulfate source. Neither does it look like it's showing anything elevated on particulate matter 1 and 2.5 micrometer size. But it's interesting that they're saying that they're suspecting sulfates in that volcanic smog. Don't quite know enough about volcanology to understand why the daylight hours would make a difference in that, but I will do my research and get back to you on that. Okay. So from our volcanic update, let's go to look at our earthquakes. Let's see. And is anybody here yet? No, none of my friends are here. That's okay. Let's check out Earthquake 3D. Oh, maybe if it wants to let me load my feeds. There we go. Okay. I do like to turn on borders and rivers just because interesting that they've been happening near rivers lately. Let's see, 3.6, that was yesterday in Iran. And no, that was just on the Russia side of that border. 4.4 was yesterday. 2.3 at 9 kilometers depth. That is a very recent one, just off the coast of Crete here. You turn off shells so you can see locations a little better. Most of these are clustered in Greece. Let's see, any in Africa recently? No, but we did have a 6.1, a surface 6.1 on the plate boundary between the African plate and the Antarctic plate. We also had a surface 5.6 yesterday. So the time between those was 8:35 UTC yesterday and 15:46 UTC. So about 8 hours between. Here. Interesting that this 6.1 lies almost perfectly on the sun line over. These are the axes of the equatorial plane and the north-south pole line of the sun. Like the horizontal blue line is the equatorial plane, and the vertical line there that lines up with this earthquake is aligned with the sun's south pole. So that's really interesting. I've never noticed that before. And another thing about these sun and moon lines that I have turned on is that the earthquakes here in Bolivia and Argentina are on either side of the equatorial plane line. And the equatorial plane is the plane in which the Earth orbits the sun, not necessarily where our equator is. Ironically, our moon is quite well aligned with our equator right now. So the moon's track around the Earth is not quite. It's about to be at the north node. The moon is about to be at the north node, meaning that the orbit of the moon would be perfectly aligned with the equator. So we are nearing from we're getting there, basically. Let's see, our Puerto Rican quakes are steady as ever. I wonder if there will be any big shifts there as more. I mean, they're pretty deep too. I haven't checked in on the depths in a while, but a 3.8 at 119 kilometers depth here in the Dominican Republic. That's a pretty deep quake for the area. But then the ones here near the mainland of Puerto Rico is more like 30 to 0 kilometers depth. So not even many surface, no zeros. I'd say I think the shallowest is like 10 kilometers depth. As we continue over here to the Guerrero coast in Mexico, we have a cluster of threes that goes with political headline that happened in the Guerrero coast of Mexico, which is really tragic. You always hate to see that. You really do hate to see loss of life anywhere. That's really unfortunate. I hope everybody's okay. Then off the coast of Chiapas, we've got 4.1 and 4.0 at 186 kilometers depth. So these are some deeper ones for the area. We don't usually get this deep in the Caribbean. So that's interesting. One of my lines here is freaking out. I think it's because there are two overlapping epicenters. One very recent and one pretty old. So, yeah. One, the most recent possible, a 1.3. There was one at like dinner time yesterday and just a few hours ago. And that's our Oklahoma quake area. We've got some. Are these really deep? Why are these so far up? I don't know why these flags are so far up from San Antonio. We've also got a random 2.5 out here in the middle of Texas that is at 8 kilometers. That doesn't usually go there. Usually we see our Texas quakes over here in the western side, or the panhandle, I think is technically what they call it. Let's take off some of these smaller quakes so we can look at 2.1 here in Idaho. This was yesterday's 3.7 in South Dakota. We've got a stack of threes here in the Baja Peninsula, and also some twos coming in here in Nevada. We've got a 2.0 here right on the Oregon-Washington border. And I'm not ignoring these. Some of our most recent, I think the most recent quake in my feed is colored that way. No, I don't know why it's colored that way. It's just weird. We got a lot of threes out here around just off the coast of Vancouver Island. So off the coast of British Columbia, we are looking at elevated. But these are from the Canadian feed, so it's kind of hard to say. I think the most recent one was that 3.2, and that was on the 29th, like 3 days ago. It's really quite, you can kind of see there are some surface ones here. And then as we go through the Aleutian Island chain, we have ceased to see some of those larger aftershocks. Now, 4.4 and a 4.1 here on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. That is going along with 4.5, 2, and 6s as we move down the island chain into Japan. And that is where we see our next trifecta of surface fives. or 4.9s. A pair of shallow 5 and deeper 4.8, a deeper 4.8 and a shallow 5 right here, and a deeper 4.8 and 4.7 along with a surface 5. That has been the pattern of response to whatever internal seismic wave drove the deeper quakes from out here the other day. We've been seeing some pockets of, again, a deeper 5 and a surface 4 something. 4.4 in this case here in Western China. We've got a 4.5, a deep 4.5 here. Well, no, not a deep one, a 10-kilometer one. 4.3 here off the coast of Sibolga, Indonesia. Which island is this? That's not Java. Java's the next one down. Is that not? Okay. Whatever. I'm confusing myself in geography. I'm gonna stop worrying about the geography for a second, because we do have other quakes in this area to talk about. Like, we've got this 3.8 at 0 kilometers. .8 in the middle of Australia, middle of the Java Sea, or that's closer to the Banda Sea, and a 4 and 5.1. Again, you see one shallow and one surface. And then as we get back to where the source, the first sign of all this activity happened the other day, over in the wave-shaped plate between Fiji, Tonga, and Vanuatu Islands, and the Comedic Islands and New Zealand. So we've got this 10-kilometer depth 5.0, 4.8 all the way at 329 kilometers depth, along with a surface 5.5. And these are all going, let's show you the horizontal view. Let me show you the horizontal view. You can see oh God, that's not there. That helps a little bit. If you look over here, the depth is the further off the globe they are, the deeper they are. And these surface ones are, the surface quakes are centered around this area. The deeper quakes are a little bit closer to the wave breaking shape in the plate. But you can see they all kind of emanate from this little area here, which I believe is the Kermadec Islands. So as we continue moving on, looks like we've seen a good amount of energy dispersed throughout the planet recently, and I expect to see more, honestly. Let's go up to taking a look at our atmosphere. All right. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back, Kale. I'm glad to have you back. We just talked about our volcanoes and earthquakes, and now we're moving up in the spheres to talk about our local terrestrial atmospheric weather. So today, another day in May, another severe weather outbreak in Texas. That seems to be par for the course. Oh yeah, and you missed my update. I want to show that. Wait, hold on. I don't want to show my screen while I call this up. I want to show you the news article that we started the broadcast off with, because it's really neat. I mean, probably scary if you live in Texas, but Okay, here we go. Oop, yeah, there we go. Texas town deploys snowplow after 2 feet of hail and 50-degree temperature drop. That was in Marathon, Texas. Oh, did I mess up my camera? Is that pointing the correct way? Yeah, my camera's off. Okay. So over in Texas, yesterday on May 30th, there was hail so deep it looked like snow. It blanketed the ground with a snow-like cover of hail. Reports where there was up to 2 inches of hail in some areas, and local emergency management services had to deploy snow plows in May. This severe weather dumped so much ice that it was like an air conditioner, and they went from about 105 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the span of about 2.5 hours. So this is not unheard of in Texas, because the last extreme weather swing in temperature record was held by Austin, but this is a quite remarkable sight to see. Like, imagine it being almost June and you have to get your snowplow out because there's so much dang hail everywhere. Um, that is, yeah, 2.5 inches of rain was also recorded in the area. So that is the type of severe weather we've been dealing with in Texas. I said we. I'm not in Texas, but like, the global we, the royal we of humanity, has been dealing with that severe of weather in Texas. As we look at tonight's severe weather in Texas, we've got a Boeing line segment headed out on the backside of this stationary front, where there's trying to be a little kink in the waveform. There are 2 different areas of low pressure that are trying to be the circulation centers, and none of them are quite winning out. So as you see, parallel to this dry line / trough line, I hate that they have the same notation, because you can never tell from whose analysis which is which. I guess this would be a trough line. You can see the winds are headed like really strongly. The winds are strongest where it bows out the most. So right here south of Lubbock is where we've got the highest wind speeds. Let's see, check some of these warnings for wind speeds. Yeah, wind speeds warned up to 70 miles per hour with considerable damage threat, hail up to an inch, and even some flash flood warnings over on the New Mexico side. Special weather statement. Does this say, yeah, 50 to 55 miles per hour? Yeah, definitely do not want to be outside in this. This is a really clear example of when this looks like an ocean wave, but from the top view. And you can see the cold pool of air. That's the rain cooled air that falls down behind the boundary, the boundary of the storm. A storm is a heat engine that converts hot, wet air into cooler air. Kind of. That's not the only thing it does, but that's one of the things it does. And the exhaust for that engine, so to speak, is behind it. That adds cold air to the frontal mass that's pushing it, and that creates more uplift, creates more convection, and more twisty Cheetos. And by twisty Cheetos, I mean the rotating, crashing line segment of high reflectivity here. I'm concerned about some of the weird looking shapes that are emerging as we get close to Memphis. I don't want to see any of this turn into tornado potential, but I'm not saying I don't see it, but I'm concerned that this would have a sneaky tornado, but doesn't look like there's good enough inflow. Because this frontal boundary is set up here, you would really want inflow from the Gulf to be able to sustain a tornado. Looks like all we're going to get is some really severe thunderstorms. And I don't mean to discount them. Those are severe thunderstorms. In the high plains, we're also looking at the same thing, where we've got severe thunderstorm watches coupled with special weather statements that warn for wind gusts of up to 50 to 55 miles per hour. These kind of isolated cells would be great candidates for making tornadoes if they had better inflow. But again, we are still putting most of our energy that's flowing from most of the energy from the tropics are going into the remnants of yesterday's severe weather outbreak. So these back two cells aren't getting as much time in the spotlight. We got rain all the way up from Minneapolis to Duluth. We've also got rain all over. I mean, this looks like a center of circulation right here between Kansas City and Jefferson City. They had a flash flood warning in the area. Now the flash flood warning looks more applicable here near Ozark. That is considerable damage threat. Flash flood is observed for 1 to 2 inches in 1 hour. Damage threat considerable. So just because there aren't tornadoes on the ground doesn't mean there isn't severe weather. Between 4 and 6.5 inches of rain have fallen. That is wild. That's a lot. The expected rainfall rate is 1 to 2 inches in 1 hour. Additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is already occurring. Life-threatening flash flooding, heavy rain-producing flash flooding. Law enforcement reported. So, yeah, what is there to enforce laws out in Ozark? Probably nothing. So the police have nothing to do but report weather. I'd consider that a good society if police have nothing to do. That's cool. If they can just be weather watchers, that would be ideal. Don't pay attention to what people are doing. Please just look at the pretty clouds. I would like that. Okay. So as we see this, it should be a stationary front, but this is kind of looking like an occluded front. I mean, I don't know if I agree with the frontal analysis on this, but maybe I'm mistaken. But here we've got a good inflow. Well, not even a decent inflow because we're going really far down. I'll take you to looking at our upper level winds to do some analysis of the fronts in a second. But we've got a lot of rain falling here through Little Rock. They are also under a flash flood warning. There's also a lot of severe weather happening in southern Alabama and the panhandle of Florida right now. I expected this to move further east faster, but it has been hanging out here, threatening the Ohio River Valley for most of the day today. Now, I did say you're currently on the road to NorCal. That is cool. Let me check out the weather over there. Yeah, looking pretty dang clear all throughout California. We'll take a look. It looks like there's something wanting to start from the Aleutian Low. The Aleutian Low wants to do something. Let's see I want to see a different. Oh, God. Sometimes I really need to stop using this browser because it's not cooperating. Okay, let's take a look at air on null Earth. Okay. So as we see, there is an inflow from the Louisiana area fueling all the storms that are in like Missouri and Arkansas and the deep south today. And that's flowing all the way up into Wisconsin. But the storms in Colorado and North Texas really don't have a good supply at the 850 hectopascal level, which is what you would want for good sustenance of a cyclone. So they're not really cycloning. They're just doing the rapid convection thing. Let's see. And then things look pretty calm in California as well. I mean, we've got some onshore winds really sweeping down from the north, so that should be a nice cooling breeze. Let's see. Oh man, the temperatures look nice in that area. Yeah, we're looking at Bay Area around 71, 91 degrees as we get into some locations. I guess in the lower elevations and more populated elevations, we're sitting, yeah, the areas where we're getting convergence, we're sitting around 90 degrees. But these coastal areas and higher elevations, they are sitting pretty at a nice 68, 67. It's really once you get over the ridge of the mountains that you start roasting like the rest of the Southwest. And the Southwest is roasting. Mexico, we're having well over 100-degree days. We got 111 down here. I think 111's the highest I see, but that warm ridge is extending far up into the Rockies, whereas there is a bit of a cold pool going on up in the Midwest and Northeast area of the United States, with a few tons of cool air pooling down from the Arctic. I mean, our Arctic vortex, our polar vortex is just, it's basically non-existent. This is just a series of loosely related eddies. That's what I would say. These are a little bit Ed, and Eddy. Less vortex, more Ed, and Eddy. Less like a powerful team of superheroes and more like 3 or 4 dunces bopping around the neighborhood. That is pretty good. I'd say a pretty good description of what's going on at the North Pole right now. Really loosely related eddies. You can barely call them a vortex themselves. I mean, I guess if you get up into the higher level, you can go up to 250. Even 250, we're struggling to call that a vortex. I'm really only seeing some cohesion as we get to like 70 hectopascals, or 10 hectopascals. And when we're at that level, we are basically in the ionosphere. Well, we're not actually in the it's a gradient, but let's see. Let's take a look at our sea surface temperature anomalies, because I haven't taken a look at that in a while. Our oceanography, oh, they don't have sea surface temperature anomalies? What? How do I not have... Okay, so our sea surface temperature data is missing from Null Earth right now. But, that's weird. I like to look at the currents. Show me currents. Currents. There we go. Yeah. All right, so our surface Atlantic conveyor belt from the Gulf Stream, if you will, is kind of fizzling out in the North Atlantic. Not really a great sign for our North Atlantic overturning cycle, but we'll see. It's still flowing from the Yucatan Peninsula to the North Atlantic, so that's a good sign for now. Let's see if temperature or not. No, they still don't want to show me sea surface temperatures. Weird. They'll show significant wave height, but not sea surface temperatures. Very odd. Okay. Let's take a look now at the Schumann resonances for today. Yeah, I'm glad that everybody could make it to this stream. I'm not sure who all's watching other than the people who have chatted already, but just saying hi. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. We've already gone through our terrestrial side of the weather, so we are going to take a look at the Schumann resonances today. And it looks like we are getting a lot of discrete vertical lines in the sonogram, which indicates some big across the board in frequency. Like all frequencies are getting power power updates. It's really all the lightning happening at once is happening at all the frequencies at once. Remember, I've talked about this on I've shown which part? Shown the Chrome spectrogram before. This is kind of what you can think of. You can think of the Schumann resonances as recording the spectrogram of the voice of the atmosphere. It's quite literally a measure of the frequency and power diffused, discharged between the ionosphere and the surface of the Earth. That makes a capacitor, the charge separation between the ionosphere and the surface of the Earth. And occasionally that charge is discharged through the form of lightning. And we measure that in a sonogram because we measure both the amount of power being discharged by lightning at any given time and the frequency at which that amount of power is getting discharged. So I'm showing you the spectrogram because this shows what a voice looks like. If the thunder sounded like a voice, our Schumann resonances would look like this on the sonogram. But if I just sang one tone, like do, you see predominantly one line horizontally. But then if I make percussive noises like that, is vertical discrete lines of power, and that's showing many different frequencies getting different amounts of power discharged. Basically, the tone and timbre of a voice or a percussive sound is, I can show you on the drum. This is what the drum machine, and you can see that different sounds in the drum machine have different peaks in the frequencies, but they all have those crisp vertical lines. Whereas something more melodic, like a harp, is going to show that. I think a harp is really what our Schumann resonances look like more often. But today we are seeing some very drum machine-like patterns. You see this in May 31st. They're mostly centered around mode 1 and 2 as the highest bursts, but there are some bursts that go all the way past mode 4. And it looks like we have just started to have another little burst here today in the past like 30 minutes. So let's take a look at how much energy actually came in with that. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Remember, from 2 days ago on the 29th, our maximum for mode 1 was 64. We're only peaking at 24 now. I mean, of course, area under the curve is what counts. So having an extended time of elevated power discharge does do a lot. But that's very interesting. Let's check out mode 4 here. We've got a lot of independent anomalies from mode 4, and it looks like between 20 and 22 on this time, this is UTC plus 7, we had a mode 4 leading the power. Usually you see mode 1 leading the power. And now these are scaled to the modes, so it's not actually absolute value more, but it is in comparison to how much the wave could handle. And yeah, right after 20 and 22, we see a big power or a big frequency increase in the lower modes, actually the higher modes too. And you see a really nice oscillation in these today. It's like we got a lot of discrete bursts of information all about different things in the universe right now. I say that because I think of the 4 modes as having different topics and different frequencies of brainwave state to alert. Let's take a look at that sonogram again now that we've seen that. Yeah, that would be, okay, between 22 and 0, that would be this little, do we see this peak in above mode 4, something that would really be classified as mode 5 if we observed that, and this little dip, that little vocal almost pattern. We are getting up to about the year anniversary of a very anomalous sonogram reading from last year. There was one that looked like actual choirs singing, like really interesting sinusoidal waves on this graph that usually has horizontal and vertical lines. So very interesting there. And when you see the frequencies change, that'll actually shift where the middle of these modes show up. That's the shifting vertically of where the horizontal lines are settled on. So that is really cool. I look forward to seeing what else the Schumann resonances have to offer us in the coming days. It looks like they're having some really interesting behavior. So let's go up to the magnetosphere, because that is our next layer out. That's our, as we gradiate towards the sun. Let's take a look at the wind speeds, or like the velocity of the magnetosphere. Looks like the little magneto tail returning to Earth anomaly has dissipated. And we're looking at, oh no, it's trying to come back, but we're looking at pretty much blowing away from the Earth right now. Pretty rapidly, but we have a decently strong radiation belt around here because the fast wind speeds are not getting too close to the Earth. The density of the magnetosphere here is looking nice and fluffy and white around most of Earth. And then there's a really high density at this lensing at the front of the magnetosphere. And the magneto tail shows where there's less density. But then as you get close to Earth, you do see the density returning into a higher plane. That is the radiation belts around Earth. Which you see here in the pressure of the magnetosphere. This is in nanopascals. See, pretty high pressure behind the Earth today in the north-south plane, on the night side of Earth, really, and surrounding the Earth in the dawn and dusk equatorial plane, some decent charging as well. So that is really interesting. Remember, one of these is from the vertical and one of these is from the horizontal view. Well, really, I think of the noon midnight as the horizontal and the dawn dusk is the vertical, looking down from the pole. So from there, all of the winds that are coming there, things changing that, are driven by the solar weather. So let's take a look. It looks like yesterday's late in the day coronal mass ejection has been upgraded to a type 2 potential full halo coronal mass ejection. Ooh, beautiful. Coming out of that southwest corner as we see Venus moving into view of the cactus. And we've only had 2 coronal mass ejections today. And the third one is on the 1st, technically. So that's not really making much news. Let's see what else is up with the sun. We still got 3691 and 3697 classified as beta gamma delta type sunspot regions capable of producing X flares. 24-hour max, we had an X flare. Ooh. Yes, we did. Okay, very recently. We had a M flare during the day today, and then right before, this is like hours ago. This is just outside of the 2 hours ago range. We are looking at 22 UTC, so that's 2 hours before midnight. That's 10 o'clock UTC, which means it was. I always forget how much to add and subtract on Z. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I still have to look it up every time, whether we're an 8 or 7 away. But this was sometime this afternoon. We've got a X 1.18. So that is really cool. We had an X flare today. That's exciting. Let's see what gave us that X flare. Yes, it was 3697. So, capable of producing multiple X flares, as it has done 3 X flares in the past week, just since coming back on the Earth-facing side of the sun. Let's see, the most recent one, let's see if we got a picture of it. Oh, we don't have a picture of it yet. That's cool. Okay, another X flare. Let's go. Let's see. Let's take a look at that sunspot region. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Look at that beaut. Oh. Yeah, 20% increased chance of proton storming from this area. I wonder if we'll get that. You can really see some curving in of this negative region here. You can see it arcing like a spiral out from the inside of the storm. I want to see this in the magnetogram video. Let's watch this guy unfold. So as this rotates onto the Earth-facing disk, we can see it blossoming into the beautiful sunspot region we see today. Looks like maybe 2 different delta regions. I'm not a helioseismologist, but I would say that there might be 2 different delta spots in there. It's looking like a peace sign almost, or a skull shape. Does anybody else see a human face in that? Like, they got the number right over it right now, but let's see it in. Let's see if that showed on 131. See if we've got the X flare in there. Should have at least. There's the first 2. Big in. Seemed to be a sympathetic flare from that one too. Lots of arcing and sparking. Lots of craziness. There we go. Right in the last, right at the buzzer. Let's take a look at the end of this. This X flare that just happened. Right. There. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I am very optimistic about this sunspot region's potential for storming. SWPC, I don't want to click on that on Facebook, has issued a moderate G2 geomagnetic storm warning watch for May 31st and June 1st as the coronal mass ejection that was launched by the X 1.4, that was the one 2 days ago, uh, will arrive at Earth soon. We remain of the opinion that this plasma cloud is unlikely to arrive at Earth based on available coronagraph data, but time will tell. Let's hope we're wrong. Okay. So yeah, that was the coincident CME and X-Flare that were launched at the same time. Let's take a look at the models. Yeah, it's modeled to go well away from Earth, but the Parker spiral that it interacts with is about to sweep into Earth. So if there's any, I don't know, residue in the stream, it could be headed towards Earth. It could even make the solar wind less severe. I don't know. But the Space Weather Prediction Center model, however, has a bit of a different image painted. While most of it does go away from Earth, we do get a partial component. We do get a little slice of this cake. It looks like we're expecting plasma densities up to 60. Let's see. Yeah, and some pretty fast radial velocities with that as well. So I think I'm gonna be of the mind that we will get a solar storm tomorrow. I'm gonna be hopeful about that. I think that perhaps our hemispheric power is up, and it will continue to be up as we go through the day Saturday, because that is when our X 1.4 will get here. Now, what, my mouse and computer screen are just lagging so badly tonight. Okay, I'm gonna reload this page. Okay, there we go. Disturbance storm time index is back closer to 0 than it was earlier today, and we do have a southward tilt to the interplanetary magnetic field, but not looking like we're getting a whole lot of fast solar wind or dense solar wind either. So I'll be excited to see if this X 1.18 can destabilize the region 3697 any further. We did have a radio R3 blackout in progress from the moderate M1.08 earlier in the day. We did reach a KP5, a minor geomagnetic storm, a G1 storm earlier today. Let's see. Let's look at the KP index today. Yeah, it looks like between hour 3 and hour 6 of UTC time on May 31st, we got up to a KP of 5. So I'm optimistic that we'll have some crazy solar weather coming up. But didn't see that show up too broadly on our magnetosphere images. Let's see. Oh, this isn't what I wanted to click. I wanted to click. Let's see if Soho Imagery has a good video for us of the corona. And we can see some jetting out there. Few radiation particles, but minor coming out there. Ooh, there's a big one. This is Venus coming into the scene. Looking beautiful as ever. So we have some really tall spouts in like 4 different directions here. Let's take a look at this one. This shows a little bit more of the background stars. We're moving away from Jupiter here, and Venus is right here. We're about to see. That's beautiful. Beautiful imagery. Okay, so that is our solar weather for today. I think we might get a little micro geomagnetic storm tomorrow. And we are looking at our planetary weather now. So, planetary weather. Oh, hi, Anna. Bring the beat in. Dum, bum, 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 bum. What are some of the mundane benefits of a solar storm? You could actually sleep better. Some people find that they get put to sleep from a solar storm, but if you want to sleep, that might be helpful. It also can. It's really personal and depends on your personal sensitivity to electromagnetic frequencies and radiation, and also how grounded you are. So it could be a great time to get grounded and in touch with the Earth's natural electromagnetic field. Like actually go outside and touch grass. Like not like I have things that say touch grass. Like I am very passionate about touching grass. You should absolutely. It's a great time to earth. It's also a great time to observe natural phenomena. And if you are the type to have energy downloads or psychic activity, it could be a very fruitful time for you. Could get also, with this being Gemini season, very chaotic on the higher planes. I, for one, am not super aware of what level of higher dimensions I've reached or anything. I'm kind of a novice at other worlds, but I know that people who are more adept there can find good alignment. Also, might be a nice time for creativity and world building, dreaming. I've been saying world building as a keyword for Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, co-present with Neptune in Pisces. I think that these very outer planets and depths and limits seem to be indicative of like, this is the medium, this is the constraints, work within this world. I'm currently trying to take advantage of that energy, and I'm going to start playing The Sims to try to live out my fantasy, my millennial fantasy of owning a home. Just a crazy, wild dream that, it would be uppity and rude and presumptuous of me to assume that I should be able to do in my lifetime. But in The Sims, anything is possible, and even I could purchase a vacant lot for 2,000 simoleons. But creativity, yeah. You have zero earth and all the waters. I swear I am half earth and half water with a little air and fire mixed in there. And I swear by actually earthing, find a place that you can be grass and or real forest floor or something like that. Even a good rock that's well buried into the earth can help. It helps discharge your biofield's built up charge, and it helps when you do visualizations with it or meditations focusing on really cycling energy up from the earth into your body and into the air that touches your body and even further out. Look up stuff to visualize yourself as a tree with your energy extending downward like roots and upward like branches. But don't try to go further than you feel like you can maintain awareness of at all times. Because, yeah, reasons. Okay, so Yeah, I think tomorrow would be a great day to go earthing. Um, that definitely helps me with my emotions as well. I don't know if you're the emotional type of water sign person, but I definitely need to feel like I am just as valid as a tree is, and earthing and thinking of myself as a natural organic being, as deserving of living and breathing and eating on the planet as plants do. Like, if I think of myself as just as worthy to be alive as a plant, that really helps ground me and my focus of reality into something more positive and growth centered rather than destructive and painful. Because my emotions can go there really easily sometimes. Okay, so talking about the planetary weather, this would probably also be a great time to do some soul searching of yourself. We just got the moon ingress into Aries. That means it is once again co-present with the North Node, Chiron, and Mars. This is probably going to be a time, whether you intend for it to be or not, it will be a time of character formation and world building about your character and who you are in this reality. So maybe take some time to be intentional about the actions you're doing. And is this what I want to align myself with? Is this the values I want to align myself with? Are my actions aligned with my more spiritual values? Also, we just came off of this Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Now, Mercury is at 25 degrees Taurus and Uranus is at 24 degrees Taurus. I think those are beautiful degrees of Taurus. That's where I have my Sun and Mercury. But I really, this is a very constructive energy to be in. And so, if you are innovating at all, if you are trying out new methodologies or technologies to get in touch with yourself and your creative side, or even your independent spirit, this is probably a great time to make the most of this Mercury through Taurus transit, which I find Mercury and Taurus to be a very steady, sensual, sweet Venusian placement for Mercury. This will also be one of our last days of mutual reception between Mercury and Venus, Venus being in a Mercury ruled sign and Mercury being in a Venus ruled sign. So you're probably going to be able to communicate your values a little bit better right now. So I think that goes along really well with having this Mars, Chiron, Moon, and North Node in Aries. If you are wanting to stand up for something, that's right. Stand up for your values, or communicate about injustices, or align yourself and your identity with something more equitable and I don't know why I'm thinking of valor. The word valor is coming up, but like some sort of uh, alignment with a just warrior, or finding the part in yourself that is the wounded healer, the Chiron part of it, that is definitely going to make itself known. Um, I think with the mutual reception between Mercury and Venus, this is probably a good time to explain your values and the reason that you are identifying with them. Now, will people be able to hear it right now? I don't know about that, but this will be a great time to make yourself clear and make yourself known. We do still have Jupiter trine Pluto in Aquarius, so this is also a lovely time for air signs or early degree air signs to really examine their relationship to all things Pluto in Aquarius and all things Gemini, uh, Jupiter in Gemini. I'm not saying that this will be a fun transit of Jupiter. I think Jupiter in Taurus is a little more fun, but certainly this is going to be a time where you're going to be given the opportunity to make decisions about your relationships to technology, organizational groups, and legacy building, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'd say as we just came off of that Mars conjunct Chiron, so something probably came up in the past few days that has to do with your wounded healer and your action planet, your it's also the war planet, which it's not great to have that strengthened in Aries while there are wars going on that you don't agree with. But this could be a time that is, opportune to step up and manifest against the evil that you see in the world and try to focus your energy into what's actually going to make change, what's going to make the most positive impact for people right now. That Chiron and Mars are all alone with the grand sextile configuration dominating the stage between the other planets we talked about. So Mars is really out on its own here, not really fitting into the geometry. It would be great unfortunately, if you look at harmonic astrology, Mars is making a 1 harmonic to Uranus, so that means probably some big changes. And with Jupiter in Gemini, I'm seeing an end to the stalemate passivity era in the war sector. So I don't like talking about war very much because I wish it didn't exist, but it does, and it needs to be talked about. So yeah, unfortunately there is some potential for violence in the coming days. I don't like saying that, but it's true. But we are about to have Venus conjunct the Sun in Gemini. Venus is moving ever closer to the Venus Cazimi in Gemini. That should be Venus is under the beams of the Sun, so isn't able to express herself as well as normal, but it's also an extra charge of Venus to the Sun, with solar qualities getting more Venusian. But this is also a anterior. It's the one where Venus is behind the Sun rather than in front of the Sun. So Venus truly is under the beams of the Sun. Like, we're almost unable to see her because she's so close to the corona, which might mean your Venusian qualities are getting somewhat blinded by your solar being idea of self ego stuff. Okay. You believe in home ownership for you. Oh, you do? Well, thank you. Fortunately, I do live in a home right now. That is not always the case in my lifetime, but I do currently. Oh, dang, that reminds me of the big boulder I had in the backyard growing up. That's how the energy felt. It was partially in the earth, and it was awesome. Never thought about it that way. Yeah, if y'all know any big boulder around you, any big boulder is like a great place to bask in both the sun and the earth. And you need to stay in balance. If you're sunning too much, you don't want to just get charged up with solar energy. You want to also be able to transmute your, energetic poops, your dumps of energy. You need to be able to send that back into the soil to get composted by the earth. It's what the earth eats, is our energy that we can give to it. So we don't just pile up energy that needs to go somewhere for no reason. But yeah, boulders that are partially submerged in the earth are great places. You live in a valley carved through the middle of big rocks. Oh, those sound like beautiful places to earth. There's not another kind. Let's see. Not another kind with a grand water trine. Oh, yeah, the emotional part. Love it. Venus at 2 degrees Aquarius in the 12th. Wow. Oh, man. That, I love Venus in Aquarius. You're probably going to be a really powerful person through the Pluto. I mean, you're having like Venus. Pluto is on your Venus right now, so be careful. But also, you have a really awesome opportunity to transform and do the. It's a death ritual with Venus, but it will come out incredibly powerful at the end. I mean, I don't like Venus Pluto connections, but they are so transformative and really are like so emblematic of what life on Earth is like. Kind of look up harmonic astrology. There's always a potential for violence and care. Harmonic astrology is so cool. I don't really know much about it yet. But it's the vibrations. It's the 12 different aspects that all planets and all signs can make to each other. And it kind of ties in numerology, but it's a slightly different definition of each number than you find in other numerology schools. Your Venus is in Leo, and you have no clue what that means. It does mean you're awesome. I have a Venus in Aries, and my Venus in Aries is at 12 degrees, which is where the North Node is currently situated. So, all y'all need to know is you have opposite Venus signs, but that means that you're probably very compatible as friends, in my opinion. Well, in my experience, comrades at the very least, you're very compatible. My Venus in Aries is a very weak, debilitated Venus, but it is in my 5th house, which is where Venus has her joy. So it's the worst sign Venus. What about now? Now? Okay, there we go. I don't know. That's weird. Microphone didn't like me ripping on Aries Venus. Okay, I will stop disparaging myself. Okay. We're going to shift into talking about the tarot. I'm wearing my tarot earrings tonight. I've got the moon and the sun in little holographic earrings. Really cute. Yeah. I love my Venus Aries. It makes it hard to have traditional partnership relationships, but that is a pattern I'm trying to break in this lifetime. So maybe it's a blessing. It is a blessing. It also keeps me very interested in many topics at the same time. So let's get a little vibe of, let's get a reading on what the current incoming energy is. Okay, that was pretty immediate. The Nine of Cups reversed. So this is kind of aligned with what I was just talking about of not liking my own Venus placement. My kid has Venus in Aries. He's super gorgeous, and people have been giving him stuff for free since he was born. The vibe is transforming for Venus in Aries, I think. Yeah, people give me free stuff all the time too, and I don't feel like I deserve it because nobody technically deserves anything. So it's very hard for me to feel that I deserve the love and appreciation people give to me. That's kind of the vibe of this Nine of Cups is don't pour out all your nine cups just because you don't think you deserve them. You have them. You have the skills, you have the blessing in this material life, or at least emotionally, you have the blessing and the ability to feel more emotionally stable than maybe other people can feel right now. So don't get rid of that just because you see other people in more volatile states, or I don't know, just because you wish other people could be doing as well as you. Yeah. It's very, I feel like I only get the Nine of Cups reversed, which is kind of like a low self-esteem card. Like if you look at him sitting upright, he's like, yeah, look at me and all my cups. I'm awesome. But upside down, if nobody's worthy, then everyone's worthy. Yeah, I gotta remember that. I gotta remember. That's a very interesting energy coming in. Let's try to feel more valid next time. All right. I'm going to use that. Let's go to the liminal space deck and see what the liminal space has to say. I don't know if I've shown the artwork for this one a lot again, but I really like the artwork for the postcards for the liminal space. Yeah. It's really cute. Let's see. I never did I usually do a annual birthday card pull, but I never did one this year. I need to do that. Ooh, it's almost June. That means I can start on my next I can start on my next coloring book page. If y'all didn't know, I'm making a coloring book to share with y'all. And maybe we can do lives and do the coloring book pages together or something. I don't know. But I've made a different page every month, and I really like the one I did for May, and I'm super excited about starting a new one in June. Okay, let's see. Liminal space. What goes with the Nine of Cups reversed? Into this one. Interdependence again. We drew that one the other day. Interdependence, and it's got little birds picking the parasites out of the crocodile's mouth. And I think this is the energy that we were just talking about. It says, while convoluted human notions of love have cast transactional relationships as taboo while lauding balanced exchanges as healthy, nature simplifies this for us. Not only are symbiotic relationships fundamental to any functioning ecosystem, they are effortless. All life is wired to perceive threats and gravitate to what will support it. Not everything is for you. What is yours will not miss you. That is very, yeah. the lesson we got out of the Nine of Cups was we've all got to have something and not have other things, and somebody else has the other things and not the something. We have to all exchange mutually, trust ourselves that we have been given what we need to have, trust that everybody else has been given what they need to have, but also remember to exchange freely. A card came up when we were the other night when we were talking about balance and taking our power of choice back. Yeah. Seeing that in the context of self-esteem is really hitting hard for me right now, because I think out of a desire to feel safer in the world, I've tended to believe things were my fault or, within my control when they aren't really in my control. And that has tended to make me feel bad about myself, because I've thought, oh, I could have stopped this. But really, that's turning fear into self-hatred, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. A good feeling is trusting. A good feeling is trust in the world around you, and knowing that, sometimes you are not in control of things, and that is okay. Yeah. Man, learning so much about myself on this stream. My low self-esteem stemming from my fear of lacking control. Very interesting. Okay, 2 cards popped out of the affirmation deck here. We have, I practice the deliberate science, or here we go. Am I back? There we go. I knocked my mic again and it went weird. I practice the science of deliberate creation. This says, giving thought to anything is creation. Giving deliberate thought to anything is deliberate creation. So let's deliberately create some thoughts that make us feel good about ourselves. And then we have, seeking approval of others hinders my joyousness. Oh, I don't think I have gotten this one before, but that hits really hard for me. Seeking the approval of others hinders my joyousness. If the way you feel depends on anything outside of you, you're in trouble. But if you depend only on your connection with your own inner being, then everything in your experience falls into alignment. That is powerful. So if I would like to not seek the approval of others, I should practice the science of deliberate creation and deliberately think about aligning myself with the approval of my higher self, I think. And y'all had some great comments here. Let me see. About those limiting beliefs. Anna said, those beliefs that kept us alive when we were less powerful, we gain little pockets of space to process, grieve, and release them. And I think that y'all are helping me with that process tonight. So thank you so much for being part of this beautiful space to understand. And then here, Casey comes with the psychology. Here comes the psychological Casey. Our human experience and our brain is instinctively programmed to pick up on the negative aspects of our environment, and that comes from our reptilian brain. Oh, I think about that so much. having to keep ourselves safe from predators when we grow up in a place where we had no safety or protection, then the instincts kick in. It's a deliberate practice to be positive. That is so true. Oh, and you think that is Venus and Aries is deliberate joyousness from self-approval. I I could do that maybe. Perhaps. I'm not gonna lie, my Jupiter in Libra makes me feel a lot more validated hearing this from somebody else, but I really appreciate y'all being here and, reflecting back what the universe has to bring in here. Um, it's really beautiful to get to see y'all every night and, or every night that we do get to connect. I find that this is really helping my self-esteem. Um, be happy and love yourself on purpose, damn it. You sound like all my therapists. Every single one of them. But I love that. I love that I'm getting reflected those messages from beautiful people in the world now. Yeah. Well, that is a beautiful message. I think all of y'all should be happy and love yourself on purpose as well. Imagine that. I know we align with the messages that we are trying to call in and they happen. Whoa, imagine that. Oh, my rising sign is Scorpio. Would you guys like to see my chart? This is a little in depth. Let me see if I can pull this up without giving away too much information. It'll probably be too much information anyway. I don't care. Let's go. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's go. This is my chart. So I'm going to have to do this a different way. Yeah, there we go. So I've got Pluto conjunct rising in Scorpio, opposite Sun conjunct Mercury in Taurus in the 7th house. That's kind of conjunct my descendant as well. Then both of those things are in a T-square to Saturn conjunct my IC in Aquarius at the anaretic degree of Aquarius. And that is just barely if you're using Placidus, if you're using the traditional default settings on AstroSeek. This is just barely a 4th house Saturn. So Saturn is in my 4th house, as is Moon conjunct Black Moon Lilith in Pisces. And that is sextile to forming a basket with Neptune conjunct Uranus in Capricorn at 21 and 22 degrees. So that all forms a big basket together. Then I've also got this isosceles triangle connecting Jupiter, Venus to Jupiter in Libra in the 11th house. So Jupiter in the 11th house is in its joy. Venus in the 5th house is in its joy. I think that is all for planets in their joy. But yeah, and then a North Node in Sagittarius at 13 degrees means that I kind of have a fire trine if you count the nodes. So what do y'all think of that? I have a Saturn complex too. Yeah, you could say that. It's definitely very related to my 4th house themes and Aquarian themes and that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, no wonder I was so quick on the Uranus-Neptune conjunction degree. Yeah, that I think that is a generational conjunction that's really important for people born around my time. You have Saturn sitting on Mars next to Pluto in the 8th house in Libra. My goodness, that is powerful. I gotta say, and then you also have that early degree Aquarius. You're quite divine, man. Traditional chart Leo Mars in Leo. I'm not mad at that. It's taken me a long time and very many astrologers to embrace my Mars Leo. I have tended to want to be in the background in my life, not because I want to, but because I'm afraid of other people rejecting me from trying to take the spotlight. So I've been like, no, I'm fine in the background, but I don't really... I don't really want it in the background. I want to be in the spotlight, or I want to be the spotlight. I like being the spotlight. I'm a lighting designer. So while that is a backstage part of theater, I like that nobody else is playing the lights. I'm the only one doing the lights as it comes out. So we all came in to fuck shit up. I like that interpretation. We did. Like the Neptune Uranus people in Capricorn came to fuck up the Capricorn world. With you also have a Saturn complex. That's I understand. Squaring Moon in Cancer conjunct the North Node. Dang, that's the complex in a nutshell. We're breaking ground. We're shaking up the world, I think. I think all of us together in this stream who've been chatting about our charts, we have some really transformative and challenging aspects. Pluto and 8th house aspects are not to be fucked with, but obviously I have a self-esteem complex. I have Pluto conjunct my rising opposite my sun. Of course I'm going to have low self-esteem for a while. I don't think any astrologer has ever been shocked by anything I say about my life. You see who they are and what they're capable of, and it's hard to let it be true. You're the light from the depths. Yeah. You can... a light can shine the brightest in the dark. We are the paradigm shift. Absolutely. I feel like that is also... it's not mundane, but it is a benefit of geomagnetic storming, is paradigm shift type energy. Really Plutonian type stuff. But yeah, speaking of paradigm shift, and do need to work on going to sleep because we are needed in the dream world, us change makers. Some people got into the dream world and are fucking shit up for humans in a bad way. So we need to go be real human earth beings in the dream world and take care of that plane because it's gotten a little crazy lately. So yeah, with that, I'm really glad that you guys actually appreciated the little chart dissection. Maybe we can look at each other's charts together in other future streams. Had some serious dreams, sleeping well. I really hope that all of us are sleeping well. And if you're not sleeping well. Again, earthing might help with that. And, you know, so will reading, like the actual hypnotic eye movement. I've been unable to stay awake more than a page while reading myself to sleep recently. So I really hope that you're able to find some good rest. Even if you aren't able to fall asleep, hopefully you are able to find good rest. Yeah. I always find cool stuff in other people's charts, but I'm by no means an astrologer. I mean, I'm an amateur astrologer. I'm not a professional. Not licensed. I'm kind of self-taught. This was great for me as well. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys so, so much, and I'm grateful for our connection here. And I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. See you after the geomagnetic storm tomorrow. Have a great evening. I love y'all. Bye.